can't discredit it. It's going to happen where too many people see it. It's going to happen in a major public place, or one of these species or one of these UFOs is going to crash in a different type of location, or they might even decide to, well, create some chaos on our planet. And now the government at that point, they're going to have to level with us. But you know what? It's just like when you were in school, right? If you lie all the time, right, and deny that you're putting the girl's hair in the inkwell, right, and you say it long enough, I mean, how would the people respond? Seriously, if the government came out, Michael, tomorrow and said, you know what, there is aliens walking among us, or there's aliens that come and go on our planet, we have no control, we can't defend our planet, how would the average person take it?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they are preparing for, that kind of a potential blowback that could happen. Blowback is one thing, and then panic on the other end, if indeed those kinds of things are disclosed quickly, either by the government itself or by necessity, because of an alien force or presence doing it as well. I think that's one of the things that the UFOI team has been diligently working on in trying to red pill the public about this potential paradigm shift that's coming to the planet relatively quickly and happening as we speak. Basically, the idea that our old thoughts of God and religion and stuff seem to be very small compared to the reality of how big God or the source is, and our respective roles in the universe, let alone our galaxy as well. So I think at one point that's one of our goals, is to get the people up to speed on what's going on and let them feel comfortable telling us their stories, because it seems like everyone has a paranormal, UFO, Bigfoot, ghost story that they have not been able to really get out because of the Gilgo factor and those kinds of things. So I think people are being more and more less reticent nowadays to tell us those stories and to share them with other folks as well.
Well, let's face it, go back 20 years ago before there was no internet, right? You saw a UFO, right? Well, you're certainly not going to tell the guy next to you where you work in the office. Guess what? Me and my wife saw when we went camping. We saw a UFO. You're not going to say anything because you know what you're going to be thought of? They're going to think you're a crackpot. But now the internet is there, right? So you see something, you get on there and you report it to like the UFO reporting center, or to like Mary Joyce's reporting center, or one of the other ones, or you just go on one of these Facebook groups, right? And you say, "Hey, I saw a UFO," and describe it, or I was abducted, and then people can make their own decisions, but it gets out right away, and that's the difference between now and pre-1990, because now if you see something, it gets out right away. Do people look at you as a crackpot? Well, some people will, but a lot of people will actually take it serious because they've seen strange things themselves. Now, our time is starting to wind down. I got to ask you, what is your plans for the Paranormal Lawyer Show coming up, 2019?
Well, I think what we're going to do on Night Dreams Talk Radio here on Saturday evening, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, on the Paranormal Lawyer Radio Show, is we're going to concentrate more often now, I think, on conspiracies, the whole UFO issue, and coming to a head on the nuts and bolts of trying to prove what's really going on out there. I'm interested in this data analysis by Robert Bigelow coming out soon of the down spacecraft supposedly that they're studying. I want to hear from Tom DeLonge again from To the Stars Academy, and maybe Luis Elizondo and those folks that were so hot coming out last year at the beginning of the year I'm hoping they're going to be coming back on the scene now, and we need to keep their feet to the fire and ask them the tough questions about what they know. There's a whole lot of activity I see coming out down the road from the National UFO Reporting Center with UFOs and indeed, as you mentioned, aliens being sighted in Oregon and various parts of the United States. And these are from credible people that are making these reports. So I'm really looking forward to 2019 potentially being the disclosure year. And or I always say, once that first domino falls and some kind of a disclosure happens, the rest of the dominoes are going to be tipped right over, and a whole lot of things are going to come out at once.
Oh, I think so. And I'm just hoping that the people out there, the public, can handle it, because I don't know. I'm really, I just hate to say it. People, when the shit hits the fan, as the old expression is, that's when people panic. A lot of people out there haven't had an encounter, hasn't seen a UFO. They're probably sitting and say they don't exist, but maybe one day when we have proof that they do. The scary fact is, if the government came out honestly and said, hey, thousands of people worldwide are being abducted and not returned, and we can't stop it, that is going to frickin' scare people, because now you don't have no security left. And you're not going to feel secure. You're going to make that long trip across, road trip across the country, and drive at night wondering if, hey, you're going to get where you're going. That's the things people are going to have to, really think about. And that's what's scary, because that's what goes in my mind. If the government came out tomorrow and said, yes, we've been, having UFOs and aliens visit our planet for the last whatever years, right? And yes, people are being abducted and we can't stop them. Wouldn't you be concerned? Wouldn't you be scared?
Yeah, that's the entire fabric of our communities and our world is going to crumble very quickly if those are the disclosures that happen. And of course, I believe that the powers that be in our government as well, they need to control the spin on whatever disclosure happens, so that they don't run into the situation of panic in the streets and rebellion. Before the blowback that could happen. If people are saying to themselves, well, how long have you known this? And why didn't you tell us? And you mean we didn't need to have all this dependence on foreign oil and, coal, and we had free energy available to us and we didn't have it? Or why did my little Aunt Martha even have to pass away of cancer? There's some kind of a cure out there for longevity and better lifestyle. So those are the things I'm sure that they're going to want to manage once this first domino tips everything over and it starts spilling out.
Well, one of my persons that want to be a guest, Michael, you know what their whole thing is? They built up this whole thing that said that, well, they gave a scenario that maybe we might find out sooner or later, because if our president all of a sudden things start happening, he might kind of, maybe disclose stuff that normally wouldn't be disclosed to take the heat off of him.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I sure hate to wake up in the morning and find that somebody tweeted on Twitter and said, hey, we're being, people are being abducted and we've been visited by UFOs. That would cause so much chaos. You think of the financial markets going downhill like they are. That would really tank it.
Yeah. And you wonder out there how many celebrities, how many insiders there are out there, and how easily it could be for one of them to tip that first domino over with some kind of a tweet or an internet announcement on social media or whatever that would, and this would have to be a quite credible person, of course, someone that people would, listen to and then start asking questions about. It would be interesting. It's so easy to get the word out in this new climate of our digital age that you're wondering when is that shoe going to drop, if ever.
Well, I will say this. I was a lucky person because a friend of my father was a good friend of Ronald Reagan. And when Ronald Reagan, I was a young kid, but when I wasn't that young. But when Ronald Reagan was president, he had a national show. He would come on once a month and talk to young people in the United States. Well, I didn't call him. He called me because of my dad's friend. But then after that, I talked to him several times. And, I touched a conversation on one thing I mentioned. I mentioned Star Wars. And I will never forget what he said, Michael. He didn't say, well, gee, we're building and want to build this system to protect us from Russia. He used the word from them out there to me. And then he mentioned, Russia or, the Soviet Union. But first thing he slipped up and he said, from out there, them. Now, come on, people. You can take that any way you want. But I'll tell you, that has haunted me all these years because it basically told me, okay, why would a president of the United States say that he wanted Star Wars to protect us as a shield from them out there?
Yeah. Oh, man, that is about as close as you come for disclosure right there from a sitting president of the United States to a young man yourself on the radio show. That is fascinating.
That wasn't on a radio show. That was when I talked to him. Like I said, because of my dad's friend, I got to talk to the president several times. And that was a private conversation I had to him when he was probably either in his bedroom at the White House or in his office or whatever. I talked to him several times, like 20, 30 minutes a time. And he took the time to talk to me because of my dad's good friend. And, he was very warm, caring. But and when I tried to confront him about them out there, he kind of like went quiet for maybe like 5 seconds. And then he said, well, from the Soviet Union. Well, from the Soviet Union. But I tried pressuring him again about, are you talking about out there? And all he said, out there, them out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the only thing I can define that is that it was something out there that we're trying to build or what he wanted to build a shield to protect Earth from. The same way that our president right now supposedly wants to create a space force, right? And his vice president has also mentioned to protect us on our planet. So, if you read in between the lines, something is going on somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Matter of fact, I don't know if you want to disclose who your dad's friend was, but I really admire that actor that you're talking about.
Well, I'm sure anybody at our age or even younger remembers the 50s, late 50s, early 60s. Well, Maverick, the Rockford Files.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
James Garner.
Yeah, James Garner. Yeah. And I didn't, when I was a kid growing up, this guy would come to my house and spend about a week with my dad. He wouldn't sleep at our house, but he had a hotel. Him and my dad would, just run around and man stuff together. And, I was like a young kid. I didn't know who he was. And then, I started watching, when I got a little older, I started watching, reruns of, Maverick. And I go, oh, my God. And my dad, my dad didn't want to talk much about World War II or the Korean War. But, I went up to my dad and I said, is that who I think it is? And he goes, yeah. I got to know him when, I was in Korea and I was waiting to be discharged. He was waiting to be discharged and, we got to know each other. and we became friends. And evidently, they were good friends to my